You were talking about the situation of the record labels in an open letter sent to a magazine. So you also were talking about Mute and the situation there, and you said that there were some good people there, but they have their hands tied.
Yeah.
And this was in 2008. Can you tell me a little more about how things have evolved since then? What is the situation in Mute right now?
Well, Mute is still quite a streamlined company. You know, there's not as many people there these days, and they're still owned by EMI, which does bring some new restrictions that they didn't have before. But having said that, things have improved, I think, over the last 2 years, and they've set up a more independent stream for many of their artists. So the major artists still go via EMI's major licensees all around the world, so Depeche Mode, Goldfrapp, people like that. But other artists on Mute are able to go via independent promotional companies in different parts of the world now. And that's only recently been set up. It's called Mute Indie. So this is a bit more like Mute used to be a few years ago when it first started, and I think it works better for the lower artists. The problem with the major label is that when they take on board the whole Mute label, what they really want is Depeche Mode and Goldfrapp, you know. They don't necessarily want all the other artists on the label, but they have to take the whole label. And so when it comes to working a record, they say, oh yeah, we're not really interested in Recoil, you know, we just want the Depeche name. So to be in an independent route is better for someone like me.
Okay, but because also at that point you said that you know you didn't know at that point if the next record you will release would be also under the Mute label.
Yeah.
So what would you do if, for example, you would decide to drop the label, or the label decided to drop you?
Yeah, well, I wouldn't drop the label, but I was worried that the label may not be able to continue. It seems now that, you know, they found a way. But the problem is that the record business was in a big crisis, and still is, really. And so everybody has to find a way to survive and knew what methods to market themselves, market their products, and, you know, just change the way they go about things. So it wasn't looking very good a couple of years ago. But I'm more confident now, and I'd always like to stay with Mute if possible. They've been really good to me over the years.
Speaking about Mute and about Daniel Miller, can you tell me how did it feel to play in Hansa Studios? I know that you will have a concert in Rome also with them, Daniel Miller and Gareth Jones.
It was a nice experience, a really good evening. It was great that they did it because it just felt right for that place to have them there, given the many years and months working away in that studio that we spent together. So it was very nostalgic, and I think they were happy about being asked to do it because they seemed to accept very quickly, so they must have thought, yeah, I like this idea. And I don't know what they're going to do in Rome, because that's kind of could be a different concept for them, you know, but they haven't spoken to Gareth or Daniel since we were in Berlin. We've been travelling around, so I need to call them and find out what their plan is.
So in regard to the people you collaborate with, how do you choose them? Do they come to you, or you just recruit them in a way?
It both is the answer. There are no real set rules. It depends on the individual. Sometimes people get suggested to me and I contact them. Sometimes they come and say, can I sing on your record? I think Nicole Blackman got in touch with me and said, I'd like to do something. Joe Richardson I found on the internet, and I got in touch with him and he was very interested. Diamanda Galaxy is on Mute Records, so we had a connection there. So you never really know. But normally I let the music decide in a way. You know, the music suggests a voice, and then I think, yes, this would be a good person for this song, and then I go and look.
Could you tell me one of the highlights of Recoil activity until now for you?
I think one of the most exciting moments was going over to Texas to record with Joe. He's such a fantastic musician anyway, and he was able to give me even more than I expected, because he's also a great guitarist and harmonica player and wonderful voice, has all these songs. and we recorded in a very, very special sort of semi-commercial studio. It was really open to only friends, really, with a guy who had massive of old vintage equipment. So there we were in Texas with a blues singer with all this vintage equipment, and that was really, there were moments then I thought, oh, this is what Recoil is all about, you know, the mixture of musicians from completely different areas coming together to make something modern and new and in an interesting way, you know, and it was great.
One of the most disheartening moments for you, when you were kind of discouraged and, you know, you didn't have the courage to go on?
I don't have any one moment, but sometimes, you know, when you're trying to make music and it's just nothing happening, I mean, they're the worst moments. You think, I mean, I'm always have self-doubt when I'm making music. You know, I always have moments where I think this is just shit, you know, it sounds crap and I'm useless and all this, you know. But in a way, I think that's what, you need to have that. You need to have a little person in your head saying, you can do better than this, or don't assume that this is any good just because of you doing it, you know. So having doubts is a good thing. It pushes you to make better work.